spreading the knowledge and teaching is purpose. It's a goal.
Yes.
It's life purpose.
Yes,
You know what I
yes.
mean?
Yes, I understand. It's not dissimilar for me, although I'm not as engaged in teaching as you are, but in writing and, you know, lecturing a bit and stuff like this, right? I
Yeah.
understand. It is, there's something, it seems that we come to human form to pursue.
Yes, exactly. We have to pursue something. Yeah. And this is an inner call. Inner call. It's how you say invocation.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Yeah. It means to bring into the being of the self and to fertilize and nurture and then to express, I guess.
Yeah. I have seen you have sent me very interesting things, but I haven't found the time to go through them, believe me.
It's okay.
Sometime I will. Sometime I will.
Yeah, it's okay. I have no expectation of that.
Yeah.
Tell me something about, I have many questions, so there won't be any problem with running out of material. But tell me
Okay.
something about how you became interested in, tell me something about the history of your interest in topics related to the soul and to ancient.
Yeah. Well, as I told you, my first shocking, let's say, exciting, how you say, thrilling experience was the one that I had with my father when I was 16. So I have always been interested in finding out what happens after death, because it was so real for me. And then I heard my very close friend who became the godmother of my first son, and we've known each other since we were 15. And she lost her husband when she was 46 and he was 53. And he visited, let us say, her in her sleep, a shorter dream, not that extensive, as I had with my father, but he used the same expression that I have been given permission to visit you. And this is what exactly my father had said, that I have been given permission for 3 months to visit you, but most mortals, when they die, have permission for 40 days. And these are in our tradition. When a person dies, and then after 40 days, we have this, how you say, it's like memorial, how you say that, how do you, to bring the memory, to retain the memory of this person. How you say this in English, I don't know. It's
to recollect or to reminisce or
remnants. Yes.
No, I think I know the word.
You know, the Remembrance Day, you have Remembrance Day. It's like that.
Uh-huh.
It's a Remembrance Day after 40 days. And I think this has to do, I have noticed that many things are decoded to me when I relate them to the number of the corresponding Orphic hymn. Because the Orphic hymns we have are the most ancient passages, scripts that we have. And it's like our own holy scripts, like, the Bible. It's like our Bible. And they say there the number. So when you go to number 40, Hymn is the number that corresponds to the hymn of Demeter, dedicated to Demeter. And Demeter and Dionysus and Demeter are the leaders of the Elefsinian Mysteries. I cannot say Eleusinian, it's like distorting, you know, the word. I don't like. And it's Elefsinian.
Yes.
So the Elefsinian Mysteries, so Demeter is Mother Earth. Mother Earth. I have explained this. Didusa os meter means giving like a mother. Demeter, Didusa os meter. This Demeter or Demeter is the same thing. You see, you say Demeter, Demeter. It's exactly that.
Mm.
It's exactly that.
The mother.
And either we say Demeter or Dimitra.
Huh.
It's the same, but the etymology comes from Demeter. Like you say Demeter, there. All E, the E. We have the corresponding letter is Eta, which is like the H, but it is pronounced E.
Mm.
And is the suffix of the female names, as I told you, like Eleni, Helen.
Mm-hmm.
Either we have Ita, this, no,
Yeah.
or Alpha.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's alphabet, you see, alphabet, Alpha is the
Right.
name. So this means that because Demeter gives us, Plutarch says that, the elements that constitute our body. She takes them back when we die. It's like
Right.
a
It's a
loan.
loan. Yeah, it's a
It's
loan.
like a loan.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
This is exactly what Plutarch says.
Mm.
We have borrowed this,
Yeah.
and we have to return them, you know, to Demeter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the adjective Dimitrios, as an adjective, Dimitrios, means dedicated to Demeter, was another name for the dead person, the deceased.
Mm.
Dimitrios, yes.
Demetrius.
Belonging to Demeter, going back to Mother Earth, you know, down in the underground. Dimitrios. So Dimitra has absolutely to do with the mystery of death. Actually, the Elefsinian mysteries are the mysteries of death.
Mm-hmm.
And the leading deity is Demeter and Dionysus.
Mm-hmm.
Because Demeter brings you down here and expects you over there. And Dionysus liberates you from the bonds. And he is worshipped as Lysios Dionysus, and Lysios means liberator. Leo is unbinding. This is Leo. So it's like loosening up the bonds, and then you are free to go. So the first thing was that I have been always interested in the mystery of death because of this experience. And it was not only that. When I was 22, yes, the wife of my mother's brother died. My mother had one sister and two brothers. One of the brothers, the first child in the family, was married to a Belgian woman. Belgian. And he had no children with her, but because she had 3 children, you know, and they got married. And she died when she was 56 out of heart attack because she had lost her beloved daughter when the daughter was 25 in a car accident. the day before their holiday to Greece, because they came, yeah, they used to come every year here for summer holidays. She was a very kind woman, and this girl that was 2 years old when my uncle married this lady, it was like his daughter, you know. He didn't want to have more children because he had three.
Mm.
But actually, he brought her up, you know, and he was a really a very bad shock, disaster in the family. And 5 years later, this aunt of mine, the Belgian woman, died because of sorrow, because, you know, she developed heart problems. Now, she died at the end of July. On August 15th, we have a very important holiday here, dedicated to the death of Virgin Mary.
Mm.
So in our Christian tradition, we celebrate the death, we say the sleep, of Virgin Mary on August 15th. It was about 20 or something, less than 20 days that my aunt had died.
Mm.
And my uncle, because she died here in Greece, in Crete, on the island of Crete, because my mother originates from there. It's the motherland. And they used to go there every year. And my uncle had to carry her to Belgium, you know, all the dead body and all this stuff. And then he came here, and then he had to go back there again for the 40 days and to prepare the grave and all this stuff. And I didn't know that that day he was planning to go by car from here. And he had waken up very early in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, before the sun arose, because it's really hot here in Greece, and he wanted to travel most of the way, not with the heat of the day.
Yes.
I had not been told that he would leave that day. For that period of time, he used to live with us after his wife died for a few months. I had lost my father too, so my mother was, you know, widow, and he had lost her. He stayed with us for about 2-3 months. But I didn't know. I was 22 then. And while I was sleeping, in my sleep, I was like that, sleeping. I felt something blowing, and it was a cooling experience. I thought that there was a wind that blew and made me feel cold. And I said, oh my gosh, this is why it's cold, because the 15th of August, it's really hot here.
Right.
And 5 o'clock in the morning, few minutes, about 10 minutes before 5 o'clock in the morning, that my father had told me when I was 16, that he had the permission to be in contact with me until 5 o'clock in the morning, at 9, you know, because when the sun rises, he cannot come in contact. This is what he had told me.
Right.
I tell you my experiences,
Yeah.
the most important ones. And it was, and I turned the other side because I felt cold here. And then I heard her voice in my sleep. And with this Belgian accent she had, she asked me in Greek, because my uncle had told her, if you don't speak Greek, I'm not gonna marry you. You should And she was very much in love, with him. I said, okay, I'm gonna learn Greek, whatever, because I want you in my life.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she spoke 4 languages very
Mm,
fluently. And the Greek was difficult for her because we have 3 genders,
mhm.
masculine, feminine, and neutral, and all the
Neutral,
stuff.
yeah.
And we conjugate verbs, we conjugate nouns, everything. So she used, only one person in the verbs, but she used the pronouns in front. I, you, he, and he. It was really funny for us to hear that, but we could understand her.
Mhm,
And she told me with that accent and the words and that I knew that she was here.
mhm.
And she told me, hey, kid, this is Pedaki, who is my little kid. Hey, kid, get up and tell George to be careful while driving. It's amazing. I said, what is this? So I felt that I got up, but it was not really me. It was my ethereal body.
Ah,
And I came right here. This is my kitchen. This is the door of my kitchen, you see?
yes.
And this is the table that I'm sitting now,
Mm,
you see?
mm,
And I saw my mother and my uncle sitting here on the table. My uncle was sitting over there,
mm,
my mother over there, you see?
mhm,
Like that. And they were talking with each other. I was trying to talk to her, to my mother, to tell her uh, that Aunt Agela had come to my dream to warn him to be careful, but they didn't see me. I said, are you serious? Can you see me? I'm talking to you. No, nothing. I said, okay, they can't see me. I go back to sleep. And then as soon as I returned, was my ethereal body, I felt even cooler, this stream of air that was blowing on my ear, saying that with very strict voice, in a strict voice, saying, you didn't get up as a whole. Your whole body should get up. And I go. And then after that, and she said, I don't have permission later than 5, and you know. It was really amazing. And then when I got up and I stood there at the door of our kitchen here, of our dining room, I was trembling because when I have this experience with the contact of the afterworld, with souls from afterworld, because it was twice in my life that I had this with my father and this son of mine, 6 years later, okay, at 16 and 22, and I was trembling. I could not speak clearly like the way that I happened to me when I had this contact with my father.
mhm.
And then my uncle turned towards me and he asked my mother, what's going on with her? What is this? And I go, oh. And I wanted to say, uh, and the aunt came, and we use the verb first, came. We say came, the aunt, this is the
Mhm.
way. Irthe means came. And I was like, Irthe, like that. I could not pronounce it clearly. And my mother knew because she had seen this before. And she said, who came? And then I tried to spell, to with difficulty to pronounce the name Agela, and said Agela, yes. And then I calmed down a little bit. And then 10 minutes later, I was able to say the whole sentence. And my uncle was so surprised. I mean, and my mom said, "Okay, I know this. I have seen this before, so don't worry, it will pass." You know. So these two experiences, and this explains to me that after that I studied the Greek philosophy because I was really interested in this. I can very easily understand why this was a cooling stream of air, let us say.
Mm.
Say how you say stream of air, not how you say it.
A breeze. A breeze.
Breeze, yes, a breeze. Because in Greek we have the word cold, or the cool weather, the cool, we call it ψυχρόν. Ψυχρόν. The refrigerator is called ψυγείο because the verb is ψύχο. Ψύχο means cool down, make something cold. It's ψύχο. And from that derives the word ψυχή, which is the soul.
Oh.
You see?
Yeah.
So this ψυχή is closely related to ψύχο. Because when you blow something, you cool it down. When something is hot, like the coffee, you do. So this air that comes from the blowing, the flow of the air pulls something down. And the spirit is airy in nature. The spirit's nature is of air, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the elves in Greek are called aerika, of the air. Aerika is of the air because they are spirits. You see? So if you go to the words themselves reveal the cosmic truth. This is the most amazing realization that I have in life. And although I studied chemical engineering, as a child, I loved both mathematics, chemistry, and ancient Greek. Actually, I adored ancient Greek. But I found mathematics and the science in general more exciting, So I wanted to study this. And life has led this to me. It was an inner guidance, let us say, that leads you to the path of life, you know. It's something inside you that tells you what you should follow.
Yes.
And this inclination, let us say, of the soul, it has absolutely to do with the guardian spirit, because it's like something invoking to you what you should do. You really feel like I should do this, and you love it, and you, or either it is a path in your professional path and your profession, or feeling something for another person and feel the need to be with him or her, and you think that it is you, it's not you. It's something else that it's like implanting something in you.
It is
Because you should do that, because this is the plan of your life that you cannot avoid, you know.
It is a little bit, I mean, there are different ways of thinking about it, but it's kind of like, I think we become confused because we think, oh, my personal identity is me. That's, I am Darren, right? That's who I am. But in fact, it seems like perhaps there are different ways of thinking about it. but perhaps it is more like Darren is a glove, and the hand from up there is inside the glove, and Darren he's kind of deaf. He can't hear the speaking of the hand
Yeah.
inside him, right? He's kind of deaf. So he's like bumbling around in the world, right? And the glove, it sort of guides him a little bit when it can.
I love the simile. I like it. I love the simile with the glove.
Right. And then the other thing, which I think I mentioned in our previous conversation, that I think is very compelling, at least as a sort of a toy or a lens to see through, is that I think we're very, very confused about death. As I am growing older now, and I'm coming closer to death, and I have been in love with death my entire life, right? Since I was a little kid, fascinated and terrified by death, right? So always chasing the literature of death. Edgar Allan Poe, when I was a small kid, I was reading him. I'm actually practicing one of his poems right now. And then just so curious about, and also terrified of death, and finding a dead animal or a corpse or something like this of a creature, very compelling to me. Always seemed kind of magically powerful, profound. The dead bird or the dead creature, watching it decay over time when I had the chance to. Just fascinated with all of these things.
Yeah.
But you know, we always tend to think that the sort of our inspiration and what makes us unique as human beings, it comes from before, right?
Yeah.
I get it from before I was born. My ancestors, my parents, my soul getting incarnated, we think of it, it comes from before, right?
Yeah.
But
Darren, specifically on this, Plato has written in the Republic. I don't know if you know the myth of Ir. Have you heard of that?
not in this name. I've read.
The Republic is 10 books.
Mm,
10 books, and altogether is the Republic. We call it the Republic, but actually the name in Greek is Politia, which means a big city.
mm,
It's like a divine city.
mm.
What happens in the divine community, let
You
us
know, we
say.
have this word in English, universe, city, but we don't think like that. We don't think universe, we think university is a school, right? We don't think that maybe the universe is a city. But please continue.
Yeah, and the Republic, another name of the Republic, because Plato gives a name, and another name we say, or you can say that about. So, for example, Cratylus that I had written is Cratylus, or about the correctness of the names. This is the whole title. We say republic or about justice.
Yeah, yeah.
Δίκαιον.
Hmm?
We say δίκαιον, which is just, but and δικαιοσύνη, which is justice, and it's like about what is just. This is the meaning, the core meaning of the analysis. So he analyzes what is just, because justice is a virtue which has as, I would say, prerequisites. There should be 3 other virtues before you achieve, before you you can say that you really you are really just. There are 3 Yes, prerequisites. This is a good way to say the requirements, 3 requirements that you have to
Embody.
to not pursue, to attain, not attain. How you say, when you are able to achieve a goal, how else you say achieve a goal, or
Well, you can say, I mean, what I was thinking was embody them, to enact them, to become
to
them.
enact them, okay, to enact them, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, to make it
Yeah.
feel it in practice.
Right.
So there are three virtues. The one has to do with the mind, and the virtue of the mind of this sender. We have 3 senders: the logic, the thymos, which is the heart here,
Thumos, yeah.
center of the heart, thymos. And we have the desire, the center of the desire down here. We have 3 in 1. Okay, we're 3 in 1. Other things I think and I have in my mind. Other things I want with my whole heart, and other things I do in practice or I desire as a body. You know,
Mm-hmm.
another thing is a feeling, another thing is a body. You know, and for example, I want. I'm gluttonous and I want to eat. This is a desire. It's not a feeling.
Yeah.
You understand what I
Yeah, or
say?
you smoke.
When I'm afraid, the fear is a feeling,
Yeah.
but the gluttony is a desire. It's another
Mhm.
thing. Hmm?
Yeah.
Some things are felt with the heart, some others are desires of the body.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this center that is located down here in the tummy
Mm-hmm.
section, like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And under the diaphragm,
Mm-hmm.
okay, under that, the whole thing, the body. And the heart is another center, and the mind here is another center. So we have different virtues for these centers.
These these in the Iliad and the Odyssey, they are referred to as the hypostases, the thumos, the krator,
In
uh, the I cannot recall all of them. They are called hypostases, which in,
therefore,
they're called hypostases. Lesser, like a lesser hypo, lesser stasis form, lesser form.
hypostasis.
Yeah, hypostasis. Uh,
Okay,
thumos.
hypostasis.
I'm trying to remember the hypostases. Thumos is one of them. Krator, or wait, no, cardia. Cardia is the heart. Ator is the stomach. ETOR, right? They're called hypostases. And
ETOR, Etor,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, and in the Iliad, it is not like there are persons. It's not like there are persons. By the way, we have a chat here, so I'm just going to write this word hypostasis so that we don't have to. Yeah,
Hypo
hypostasis.
είναι hypo.
Yeah.
Hypostasis, yes. You know what we call hypostasis in
Agree.
philosophy.
Mm.
Hypo means under,
Yeah, lesser, right? In
lesser.
medicine,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Hyper.
actually, hypo means under.
Mm-hmm,
This is the right meaning.
mm-hmm.
Lesser is micro or ligo, is oligo.
I
This is
see.
lesser.
I see.
But the hypo is other. So stasis means level that you stand on. So hypostasy is a level under another level.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
we have the universal God, the cosmic mind, let us say, we call it N, which means one, and the hypostases are under that. And we have the gods, here is the mind, and there is the soul, and these are called the hypostases. But in Odyssey, I have never heard of this. I don't know what they have translated as that.
I understand. I learned this from a very peculiar book, one of my favorite books. It's by a man named Julian Jaynes, and it's called The Origins of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. This is where I first learned of the hypostases. But one of the things that Jaynes says in his analysis of the Iliad and the Odyssey, he was a scholar. I don't think he spoke Greek. But what he says is, what he's trying to say, his theory is that over the course of the composition of the Iliad and the Odyssey, which was a long period of time, not all at once was it written, over the course, the meaning of the self, it changes. And in the beginning, there's no personal self. There's no such thing as I, me, mine. It doesn't exist. What happens is you have the hypostases and the gods put things into them. It puts fear into someone, or it puts anger into someone, or they put desire or jealousy or even obedience, right? Or they put memory into, as if the human is filled with jars, right? Containers into which the gods put things. And then later, there begins to appear this idea of like a self, a person, a separate self. Now, this is one theory. I'm not saying it's true. It's a perspective, right? But so that I don't lose my place, I just wanted to circle back to what I was saying about we think that everything we are, it comes from before. And then you began to talk about justice and the three virtues.
Prerequisites, the three requirements.
Right. You must develop
Requirements. So we have the virtue of this, which is called phronesis. And phronesis is the etymology of phronesis is phora, which is the way of direction.
Yes, yes.
And noises means the power of the mind.
Yes.
So I follow the direction of my mind. This is phronesis. And the goddess of phronesis is Athena, the goddess of wisdom. Athena.
Oh, Athena. Yeah, yeah.
Athena,
okay.
yes.
So this word phronesis, it's where we get the word phrenes. The hypostasis phrenes, Phrenes, which is in the English word schizophrenia. It means broken phrenes.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Phrenes are confused.
Schizo means tear.
Yeah, tear. Yeah, right. Incoherent phrenes.
Yeah, friends. So phronesis is the power of mind that controls the illogical part of the soul, not the logical, not the reason, not the feelings and the desires have no logic, are not reasonable. So we say phronesis, and the virtue of the heart here of thymos. Thymos is the center of the feelings. All the feelings together are called thymos. The sentimental state, let us say, is called thymos. And you see the word mythos has the same exact letters with the word thymos. Because when you hear the mythos, which is the story of mythology, okay, this is the mythos, it's like putting a stamp on your thymos, and you don't forget. You understand what I say?
Yeah, yeah. The imprints the structure. The structure
on your thymos, because when you hear this and they use the Cyclops, for example, which is the monster with one eye, you say, oh. And then when I tell you that this monster is not a real inside you, is the ego, because you see only one person, you, and you don't care about the others.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to blind it. You don't kill the ego, but you don't focus on the ego. I mean, you
Right,
don't.
right. You
So the
you
myth gives
select
you a.
you select a better way of seeing and a better way of valuing. You have the self over here, it's okay. You don't attack it. You don't have to get rid of it. You just don't follow it, right? You don't let it drive the car, essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Okay, just so I don't lose my thought, and I mentioned this before, and we'll continue with the thread that you're introducing here, because I think I know what you're saying, which is, I think what you are saying is the origin of our character, it is the rebalancing of these virtues oriented by justice.
Uh, when you have these virtues, the three virtues in the corresponding center of the soul, phronesis for that, the wise way of thinking, let us say, that follows the orders of the mind and the direction of the mind. This is what it follows. Then the virtue here is bravery. Here is bravery.
Mm.
And the virtue down here is prudence.
Mm-hmm.
Means, well, I would say moderation.
Yes.
So when you do everything in moderation, then you satisfy this desire, but up to a point.
Right.
Not overdo it.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
the virtue here. And we call it sophrosini because sozo means save the phronesis. Sophrosini is the one that saves the phronesis. Because if you cannot control the desire, this goes. So the
Yes.
direction of the mind is not followed.
Yes. These three things, they form like three circles that are
Yes,
one
yes,
thing. And so if
yes,
one of them is distorted and becomes very big, these other two become unstable.
exactly.
It's as if they're all yeah, they are dependent on each other's coherent form.
Mhm. Exactly. They
Yeah.
should be coherent, but the basis is the most important thing because if you cannot control the desires, forget evolution.
Mhm. Yes.
Forget it. So here you have three in one because we say the unity, the unification of all the centers
Mm.
that whatever I desire, I want, and I think. So
Hmm.
my mind tells my desire not eat more than one sweet, and the desire said, "Okay, I don't want to eat more than one sweet anyway." So that I try to push myself not to do it because my mind says that this is correct. And this is what Plato says, is when the desire accepts without complaining the orders of the mind, then you have sophrosine.
Ah. Yes,
Uh,
because if the desire is leading, it pollutes the mind. The mind will
yeah,
not be coherent.
exactly.
The desire, it will keep pushing up into consciousness, into awareness. It will keep pushing up what it wants, what is desired. And also, it's very difficult, like,
Uh, it's not self-restrained. It's
no,
not self-restraining, it's prudence. It's another thing.
Yeah, it's the governance of desire by something higher or even
Higher.
less.
And the obedience of desire,
Yeah,
the obedience without trying to obey and push yourself to obey, but
yes.
you feel like that, okay? You don't feel that you are deprived if you don't eat more than one sweet. You don't feel
Mhm.
like that. You don't
But you
feel
know,
that you want to eat more and more, but you have to stop because you're gonna get fat, and you push yourself not to overdo it. You don't want to overdo it. You don't care.
okay, but
This
this
is
is the thing. This is a thing where so like habit.
I'm
Yes.
listening to you, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well,
So in this matter, if it is common for one, okay, so one of the problems is for us moderns, our cultures, if we, I mean, we don't have, I don't even know if what we have in the United States should be called a culture. It's not really a culture. They just consume, right? It's not culture. We don't have culture here. In Greece, you have culture, right? We don't have that.
yeah,
So
exactly, exactly.
here, everything is oriented to inflame your desire and
There you are.
to make it
Exactly.
overcome your thought, your sensibility, your intelligence, your awareness. You want to become drunk with
Consumer
gluttony.
society.
Yeah,
Consumer society,
yeah.
nothing else.
If you go to a restaurant here, they'll feed you enough food for 3 people. If you're one person, they'll give you so much food that you think you have to eat all this food, right? You get buy a burrito, it weighs like 4 pounds, right? So when you go out to eat here, unless it's a very expensive place, in which case portions are smaller, they give you massive quantities of food, right? And what I'm getting at is it is difficult to bring the desire under the guidance and obedience of the intellect, if you will, the mind,
Yeah, the intellect. You have the
intelligence.
intellect. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's difficult to bring it under the guidance if historically over time it's always just all over the place, right? Starving, too full, no sleep, sleep for 3 days, drunk, having sex all day, whatever whatever, smoking cigarettes, whatever you're doing, right? If you're doing this constantly and it's all incoherent over time, it's very difficult to bring the desire under the aegis, right, of the intellect. But
Yeah.
so it becomes like a gravity well. It just sucks you toward gluttony and sort of misbehavior. But if you is similarly, if over time you have the experience of you do something that settles the desire into its natural feature, right? Then when you are presented with a bunch of food, you naturally have prudence because over time, right? This has been
This is what
established.
Aristotle says. Aristotle uses this excellent etymology for the word ethos, which means morality.
Mhm.
Let us say.
Yeah.
It comes from the word ethos. Ethos comes from the word ethos, which means habit.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
see? So when you habitually do this over and over again, you get used to that and you don't ask for more because you don't need more, because
Mhm.
you are used to a certain way of behavior, and this ethos, which is the habit, uh, it's like solidifying your ethos inside you. You
Mm.
understand what I mean?
Mm. Mm.
Because if you do this repeatedly all the time, it comes natural to you. And
Yes.
you don't ask for more.
Yes.
But the society here leads you to the excess. Take more and more. When I first visited Orlando, actually, once I visited Orlando, not first, once I visited Orlando on a conference. We went with my husband. Um, we visited the Disneyland, of course,
Mm.
there. And I was really uh, not overly surprised to see a label with big letters, a sign saying, "Liberate your appetite." It was amazing.
Right.
And everybody there was huge. I mean, and I used to tell my husband, okay, take pictures with these fat ladies there to make me feel well when I gain some weight. That there are worse than me. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody was, most of the people were obese.
You know, it's very tragic because part of why it is so dangerous to live in America, there are many reasons, but it is because we are deprived. We are deprived of things that feed our soul. So we are deprived of intimate relations, socially, communally. We are deprived of tradition. We are deprived of sleep. We are deprived of healthy food. We are fed poisons. Most of our food contains insecticides that are lethal, right? It's just, we are deprived, 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 deprived. And that way, whenever anything that looks shiny or that we feel might answer the vacuum inside us, right? The aching loss of our human experience and nature, we just go for it and consume, right? It's
Yeah,
really tragic and dangerous.
it's really, yeah. Yeah.
Um, modernity is a kind of a curse, really, right? It's a kind of a not having the experience of being human while you yet are human. And I have never been to Greece, but I have met people from Greece and I've spoken with them, and I can feel the spirit of actual culture, actual tradition, the intelligence in the ancient language, and how it's still alive in the people today. I feel this heartbeat of nourishing
Yeah.
insight
From
and
your father, you have a Greek origin.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What
You
is it?
see, and these are some genes inside you that
Yeah, yeah.
keep the memory, really, because Sicily,
Syracuse, right? Was Sicily Syracuse back in the day?
Syracuse, yes,
Yeah, yeah,
Syracuse, yes,
yeah.
yeah. And I have never been to Sicily, and I want to go there. These are one of my most important future goals to visit, because there are ancient temples so well not restored. They left this without destroying them, without destroying them, because Christianity destroyed everything here.
Right,
It's
right. Yeah.
But in Sicily, they preserved this
Hmm.
for so many years, and the mythology about Sicily is so interesting that I want to organize a holiday there and a trip
Hmm.
with whoever wants to come with me. Not a holiday, an excursion, let us say, for 4 to 5, 6 days maybe to Sicily,
Hmm.
and I want to tell them to decipher, decoding the mythology that has to do with Sicily and with all southern Italy, which was and the center of the Pythagoreans was there, the southern Italy. You see, Pythagoras had his academy, let us say, there, his school there.
Ah,
So we call it Magna Graecia, the big Greece.
ah,
Magna Magnum means
I see. Yeah.
very big.
Ah,
This is what they call it. And in Greek, we say the Great Greece. The Great Greece is the southern Italy, and of course they were Greek. I mean, and they were, how you say, when I say, I know so many words, and I keep forgetting the words, although I know them. When you go from one place, from a metropolis, and you build another city to another place, how you say you are? Let me find this. It's amazing. I'll tell you.
take your time.
Apicchia.
Hmm.
Apicchia. I'll click on. Colony. Oh, what do you say?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Colony.
So, yeah, there are many colonies from metropolitan cities in Greece, and they moved to Italy, and they have many of those. There are colonies of Greek cities.
How
Yeah.
did you? I want to chase some questions. Before I do, I'm going to circle back to the one thing I was saying. So
Yeah.
obviously, the rebalancing brings us into birth. The necessity of rebalancing, which you can say different ways. You can
Yes.
say,
Well, I'll tell you what Plato says in the Republic, in the last book of the Republic. In the Republic, he analyzes the virtues that we should have in order to uh, manage to have justice inside us, which is the top of the virtues that requires the existing of the others. If you don't have the others, so when you have the three virtues, then you have justice inside you. Okay. And he calls it republic, politia, which means the big city. Big city is politia. Polis is the city in Greek.
hmm,
And politia is the big city, okay? And it calls it politia because he says the state of our being, of our feelings, and the way we are inside as a character directly influences the way the city we live in behaves to its citizens. Because we vote for them, and this expresses the way we are inside. So we have the governance that we are worth, we deserve. We deserve this government because it reflects, the government reflects, the political system reflects our inner system. You know what I mean?
I
So
do.
when the citizens are virtuous, they can expect a government that is virtuous. So when I use you because you are a friend of mine, or I know you, and although I'm not fair, I
Right.
have
You're biased.
moral, you
Yeah.
justify my actions
Hmm.
because you can influence the law, and you pass the law that you want to pass, and you, like Joe Biden did for his son,
Hmm.
he forgives
Right.
everything. So whoever has the power, the Greeks said that the power proves the person you really are.
Mhm.
So when you are given power, then you prove what you really are.
Yes, yes. This is familiar to me because in my experience, which I don't claim to understand what happened. I only remember what I experienced, right? And what happened in my mind and in my heart. And my heart was so excited all the time, like so excited that I thought I won't survive. I'm so enthusia, right?
Yeah.
I felt enthusia
Enthusiasm.
like nothing I ever imagined possible for a human being, much more than anything in any
We
time.
call it enthusiasmo.
Yeah, yeah,
You see, enthusiasm.
yeah, yeah. I remember. But one of the things that happened was the intelligence that was teaching me. It's one day it asked me, "What do you want?" I knew I had power. Essentially, I have an angel is my friend. I can know the minds of other beings. I can see their histories. I can see where they will die. I can partly understand languages that I've never heard. I can listen to people talking, and I can tell
Really?
what they are talking about. Right? With
And
this
this
being with
lasted for this
9
lasted for
months.
9 months.
Yeah,
9 months.
yeah.
Oh, it didn't continue.
Then it faded. It rose up in intensity, and then it slowly began to fade. And by the end of about 9 months, it was not common that the other mind was with me. I still had gifts from that experience. I still have gifts 10 years later, right? I still have some gifts. But yeah, about 9 months. And then there was a second time, which is a different story. And the second time, I rejected it. I did not trust it.
Why?
Well, the first time it warned me. It said, something may come to you, seems very much like me. You must check it carefully. It may not be like me. You won't know.
Really?
You have not seen my face, is sort of what it said. You have not seen my face. So if something else comes, you won't know. And you should be careful. There are those among our kind, so to speak, who are not as gentle and not as trustworthy. Here is the thing, though. The first time, this being, it had love. It had love. It loved the humans and all beings. And also, it had a sense of humor, but the kind of the humor was divine humor, not like low humor, right? Playful, sort of divine
Yeah.
humor, beautiful humor, right? But the second thing, when it came, it did not love, and it did not seem to have humor. And it was very much oriented to try to inflate my ego, right? Which I eventually, it took a little while, it took a few months, and then I realized something is wrong. This is not good. This is dangerous. I must push it away. But what I was going to say is that in the first case, and I think this is not uncommon, eventually it basically asked me, what do you want? You can have anything. You have our attention. What will please you? And essentially what I said was, now I have asked other people what they would answer, and the best answer I've heard came from a woman who I asked, and she said, I think this is very wise. She said, can we preserve that question while we get to know each other better? And I was like, that's a truly good answer.
Oh, to know the spirit,
Yes,
this
yes, let's
nature.
preserve the question, right?
This is my desire, what I really want, to
Yeah,
know
yeah,
you
that's
better.
a brilliant answer. What I said was, I want to understand. I was thinking particularly of the story in Genesis, where Adam and Eve, Eve goes to the tree and she meets the serpent. you know, because this seems to be in biblical storyland, this is where the problems begin, right? So I wanted to know what happened there, and was there an antidote? And I also wanted to know, like, what got broken in our people? How did it break down? Why are we so endowed with the beauty of our divine origin and at the same time so crippled and so confused as a species, right? Like, we are a terrible thing as a species. At the group level, humans are a nightmare, right? You definitely wouldn't want to let them near anything important or give them power, right? It would be a terrifying outcome if they were given power. Right?
Yeah.
So I asked, you know, help me understand what happened to my people, and is there medicine? Is there medicine? Is something that we could do that would heal it?
What happened to human nature, and it's so confused. And although it has a divine origin, it's still we are still confused, and how we in our body nature. This is what you mean, and
Yeah,
how.
particularly at the group level, right? You can meet a beautiful individual human being who you can trust, and they are an amazing being. But at the group level, our species is a nightmare, right? And most of
In
our,
a group level, in a group, you see.
yeah, we can't make a good polis. Our policies are
Yeah,
terrible,
yeah.
mostly, right? So I asked about this, and it was shocked. It said, no, you don't understand. I'll give you power. You can have money. You can go to the casino and win all day long. Just stack up money in your bank. You can have women. You can have island kingdoms, right? I think you don't understand. You can have anything. And I was like, no, I want to understand what happened to my people, because my heart, all my life, my heart wants justice for the people of the earth, you know? It aches for restoration of the people's spirit, right? Um, Now I don't think so. What I'm trying to say is, I think when you said, you know, if you want to know who someone is, give them power, right? And then see what they will ask for, right?
This
The spirit
this is
was,
what I said. Yeah.
yeah, right. It was giving me power. It was like, no, don't misunderstand me. I'll give you power. You want power? And I was like, no, I want medicine. I want medicine. Can we have medicine?
Yes, medicine for society.
Yes, yes. For the
You cannot
networked
have
human
medicine
mind.
for society, globally to humankind.
Yes.
What
That's what
kind of medicine to bring justice?
yes, justice as in restoration of the beauty of origin in the people, right? But particularly in the systems that govern them, because these systems, they are not human, they are not divine, they are something very weird. They're like the absence of divinity mixed with the absence of humanity, and then that thing presents as if it's somehow how like good or charismatic, or it's very strange to observe this. And it, you know, think of the dreams of every mother. Think of the collective dreaming of the mothers of the beings on earth, what they hoped for, what they strove for, what they suffered for, what they made sacrifices for the sake of the possibility of their children having a beautiful existence. They gave everything. They they suffered, they were born, they died, they gave birth, they gave everything in the hope of of the restoration of the beauty of the world for their children, right? And the
Mm.
fathers too, right? They fought and died and served terrible kings and, you know, whatever, terrible masters, and were corrupted and fought against that. And right. So like the entire history of the world that we have here, there's like a spirit of beautiful hope and then there's something that's just crushing it, right?
Yeah.
Destroying it. So there must be some kind of answer, a way, there must be a path. And also, you say Demeter, the earth, right? She is a being. She has friends. They don't want to see her destroyed.
Yeah.
They don't want to see, they're not happy with what the humans do. If the humans are just tearing things apart and like selling her organs on the black market for guns and drugs or whatever, right? They're not happy. And maybe the humans can get away with that for a little period of time because for Demeter, time is very long, right? 10,000 years for her, it's like an eye blink. So the
Yes.
humans, we can misbehave for 1,000 years and get away with it and think like, oh yeah, we can just keep misbehaving like crazy. No one's going to stop us, right? But eventually, the gods, so to speak, they will not they will not let that stand, right? The sun, if the sun should just change 1/1,000,000th, right? If it should just have a burp, right? It will obliterate,
Yeah.
it will obliterate technology. There will be no technology.
Listen, Plato mentions this in his book called Politikos, the politician.
Mhm.
And it's a short book, it's not one of the longest, and says about this situation of corruption and of all this and that, the worsening and worsening of the situation. And when it comes to a great extent, this corruption, then the earth reverses the poles like that. And he calls this recycling, anakyklisis. Ana means re, means again. Kyklos, cycle. Cycle is kyklos. Actually, is from the word kyklos, and the Y is the epsilon of kyklos. We have three E's.
Uh-huh.
The eta, the
Oh,
one I told you,
yeah.
the iota, the
Uh-huh.
I,
Yeah.
and the epsilon, like that. The Y.
Oh, yeah,
All
yeah.
of them are pronounced E.
Yeah, I have my little chart.
Yeah. Well, this is actually, this is not Greek. It is
Well,
more than.
this,
Yes, this is Greek.
this,
Yes.
yeah.
Right.
And also Hebrew,
Iota.
yeah. And
Okay.
also
Yes.
Proto-Hebrew.
They are there.
This I just make to help me remember.
Yeah.
Yes. So
So the cycle anakyklisis is the way that it's like a cycle and it comes back to an early point that it used to be. So like recycling, so the earth goes like that, it reverses the poles, and we have a global destruction, and only 5% of the life forms can survive. And it also called this situation athanasia, which is immortality, επισκευαστή, restorable. Restorable immortality. This is how he calls this. So I have my own theory on that, if you want me to tell you.
yes, let's hear.
I thought of this because of the etymology. I tried to find the etymology of the word magnetism. Because the Earth has an axis like that
Mhm.
and a magnetic axis like that.
Yes.
These are is the natural axis, and this is the magnetic axis, okay?
Yes.
Magnetic, how you say, okay.
Mhm.
This is not stable.
Right.
So this angle here changes and goes like that, okay? And when this is the 90 degree, and when it goes here, which is how you call this angle in English, we call it
Acute.
amvlia, well, more than 90 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
then it goes, you see,
Mm-hmm.
the whole, the Earth stays like that. This is the axis and this is the Earth. But when the magnetic axis reaches a point more than 90 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
then it goes, okay? And this changes everything. Everything is destroyed. Now, to my mind, I take the word magnetismos, and it has the word magnum, which means big, and this is from megas, mega,
Mm-hmm.
mega,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever.
Large.
Megas means the very big,
Mm-hmm.
megas. And nous, which is the mind. So magnum is megas nous,
Mm-hmm.
the big mind.
Mm-hmm.
So the magnetism I have is an attraction to the big mind,
Mm-hmm.
the cosmic mind. This is an attraction of my soul because Isiodos said that we belong to the generation, the gene of the iron. We have three generations, three genes: the iron, the silver, and the gold. The gold belongs to the gods. They are considered to be the gold gene generation. And the demons between the humans and the gods is the silver.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the humans are the iron. Why he gave these characterizations using metals? Because the iron is the only one that uh, not expresses magnetism, that
Oh, right. Also
not
electricity.
developed, how you say, that is magnetized.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the element of the iron that gives the magnetism. Without, if we don't have iron, we don't have this magnetism. And well, as an element, because the magnetic field is developed whenever we have electrons running.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have electrons moving around them, we have magnetism. And so because we belong to this iron gender, let us say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's iron
People
gender
of the iron. Yeah, we are the people of the iron.
of the iron, yes. And our mind, because it's megas nous magnetism, the big mind, so it has to do with the mind. If we sum up the magnetic fields of our minds, because we have electromagnetism, because we are charged negatively because of the karmic debts that we owe in an etheric field, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So we carry a negative load here, negative charge. And whenever in physics there are negatively charged particles, the electrons moving, we have magnetism around, magnetic fields. This is how the magnetic field is developed. If you don't have moving electrons, you don't have a magnetic field.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like a moving electron because I'm negatively charged because of my karmic debts. So the magnetic field I develop characterizes my iron, let us say, gender. So if you add and you sum up, you add all the magnetic fields of the minds, the more phronesis you have, the more, wisdom inside you, the smaller the angle, of this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The lower this phronesis is, if you don't care about the mind at all, it goes. It's like here the right way to go to the heavens, and then you go. You understand?
I do.
And so the more enlightened and aware and sentimentally clear the people are, the better this, the closer this angle is to the natural angle, to the natural axis of the earth. So because in this book, Plato gives a myth. The myth is a coded message, a coded truth. And it calls it the myth of the sacred shepherds. This is the
Mm-hmm.
mythos των θείων ποιμένων. Theon is sacred, of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
And shepherd is ποιμένος. And they said that when the human race first appeared on earth, there were demons that supervised this species, humans,
Mm-hmm.
and helped them enjoy earth and their life without getting tired. And the earth used to give all the fruits and whatever the harvest, without any effort. And they used to remind them all the time about their divine origin, and everything was peaceful. But Zeus said, Zeus said that I made this type of species having free will. So don't tell them all the time what to do. And they should not be guided anymore, any longer, and they should be left decide on their own.
Mm.
And then they started be subdued by the passions, how you say, and stuff like that,
Yeah, subdued. Yeah, that's good.
Succumb,
Yeah, they
yes.
succumb to the passions. Yeah.
To be succumb to the passion, yes. They started succumb to the passion, and then the angle of this went, and when they saw that we should not allow this any longer, we cannot withstand this any longer, then the things go upside down. And this is human nature, because the first thing you experience is not the power of your mind, but the power of your senses.
Yes.
Entering a body, that's why we have a word for the little kid before he goes to school. We call it nipion. And nipion means ni, which is no. No is derived from ni. And epos, which means speech. So the one that cannot speak.
Yeah. Yeah,
You see?
Okay, there's so many things in my mind, but a few of them very briefly. Uh, all the things you speak of here, these are things the angel showed me about. All these things. The things that you talked about Plato talking about, I have seen them. I know it must be something similar that he experienced or was taught by, because it is the same thing. It taught me that, well, it showed me that the humans are in a lot of danger because they're misbehaving very badly, like catastrophically. And they think they don't have long memory. They have our species has short memory. So we don't remember what happened when this happened before. We don't remember. As a species, we don't have any memory of it. We have stories of the flood and things like this, right?
Yeah.
So he showed me, I use the word he, it's not entirely correct. I only use it casually. I use it casually. Usually, actually, what I say is they, because it's very complex what their identity is. In any case, there are different ways that justice, that the reinitiation of immortality that you spoke of, there are different ways. One is the sun. The sun changes, everything dies, right? Another is the earth herself. If she puts up a bubble of methane from underneath the ground, everything dies, right?
Yeah.
Another is the sun. If it is angry, it doesn't have to do it itself. It can call a stone. It can call a stone, and the stone will strike the earth, and that will wipe everything out. And
finish.
also,
Meteorite.
yeah. And also the poles can flip, right? Also, all of these things. And there are a few other things. In our time, the humans are powerful enough to initiate massive destruction on their own. I suspect, though, I'm not sure about this. And let me be really clear about something. I love the humans and I love the animals and I love the ocean and the forests and the mountains. I love this world. Adore with great adoration. I adore this world. I am a friend of this world and its origins, right? So I don't want everything to be killed. But I suspect that if the humans try to wipe out each other, I suspect something will intervene. I think they will not allow it.
No.
I don't think it will allow it. So, okay, I wanted to say those things.
I'm sure of that.
Yeah, we feel similarly. We feel similarly about this. There are other intelligences that are not human that are involved in the earth, that are involved in the humans. They are involved in time space, in the sun, in everything, right? There are other intelligences that we don't have very good language for. And I want to ask you some questions about this, but very briefly, what the angel told me about the story in Genesis is very interesting. It actually, and there are two different stories. It gave me 5 different stories. It never told me one story. Only humans do this. Humans think like, oh, there's one, this is the story of how it is, right? And they give you one story. It always said, have 5 stories, see from different angles, because each of the 5 stories will expand your insight, right? Why do your people always think there's what's one thing? It's like having one finger on your hand. Why would you do that? Anyway, one of the stories it showed me was that there is a problem when an animal becomes capable of representational cognition to make a token and to attach that token to a situation and experience, which is what happens to the child. This is what it allows it eventually to speak, right? It gets representational memory. It gets representational cognition. There are a variety of problems that ensue when this gift is conferred on an animal, but the light of origin is dimmed. Now this animal will become very confused and will start having tokens. It is knowledge. This is what we call knowledge, right? And this in the Bible, in English anyway, you know, God says, apparently, according to, you know, the Genesis stories, you can eat of all the trees in the garden except one, right? Don't eat of the tree of knowledge. And actually, what is being said there, it's not actually knowledge. What is being said, if you examine the etymology, now I can't examine the Greek, but I'm curious about it. If you examine the etymology of Hebrew, it's not the tree of knowledge. It's a tree that's the tree of what separates the earth from heaven. It's like the umbilicus. It's the umbilicus where the earth was severed from heaven. That's what is being said. Don't eat of don't go to the place where the earth has been separated from heaven. And it's not necessarily the physical earth. It could be. But there's something very trippy here, because essentially what the angel told me is that the angel that makes cuts, the angel that divides things, it is there. It is there because it has just cut the umbilicus. And if you go there, that angel will teach you its power. And its power is to make cuts in identity, to separate identities, right? And this power is the power of making. And this is the power that humans use to make objects, right? Like this thing. It's just my teacup. It's very stained with tea. But yeah, to make objects, to separate and form a separate thing. And what happens is that power in our minds is very dangerous, because we become fascinated by the different ways of separating things, which of course language is one of those skills, right? We become fascinated with that and we lose the memory of origin. And this is just one story. Now also it says there's another tree. Go ahead.
Let me comment on that. If I have understood right, you talk about the unity. So this is the unification, the not being separated, but as a whole, the connection between the lower part and the upper part, the earth and the heavens, and this tree unites this. So we have everything in unity, and unity actually comes, we say enosis, unity, and N is the one, και osis is the movement towards, the pushing towards. This is osis. So enosis, which is unity, is the pushing towards the N, the one. See?
Yes.
Enosis. Well, all the beings are related and connected somehow to the one. And we call this in the philosophy philotis. Philos is the friend. So we are all friends together, and we unite with them.
Yes.
Now, when this is what we call in philosophy deification. This is the divinization, the deification. I resonate with the sequence of the mind pulses of the one.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I
Yes.
resonate, so we are all together. Now, if we separate, well, the word serpent has to do with separate. You see?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's like separate
When the
things.
serpent goes on the land, it's
Yeah,
literally separating the two parts of the world, right? When
exactly.
it's
Exactly.
separate.
It's like drawing a line that separates the land into two pieces. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So when you divide and you separate, you create the multiple species.
Mhm.
So we have the world of life, the world that we can see with our eyes, the material world that we can sense with our senses, is a multiple species world
Also,
that,
in language, you have the categories. They are the species, right?
yes,
Please
yes,
continue. Yeah.
that goes, yes. So the fact that we have multiple things, the multiplicity and the unity are the two different worlds. I am one organism, but I have a multiplicity of cells
And
inside me,
organs. And organs.
organs
Yeah.
and organs.
Yeah.
So I am many in one.
Yes.
So the divinity is the state of the one. Everything is the same. We feel the same. We don't separate each other. There's no ego. There is one that we belong to, all of us, okay? And the world of the multiplicity, of the multiple, of the many species, of the many egos, of the many identities, of the many whatever. And this is what separates the two worlds. In philosophy, we have the unification of time and space and the quantum continuum and the ether and all this stuff is one, everything is one, and the world of differentiation of multiplicity and of the many, of the existence of the many, okay?
Mm.
So I don't know if you mean this, but this is what we have in philosophy. And when you are even in the state of your incarnate soul, you have three senders,
Mhm.
and you have to unite the three senders under the guidance of wisdom, of phronesis. You have
Okay.
to
So firstly, it should be obvious that unity expands into diversity and then contracts into unity and expands into diversity, and it's breathing like this, right? The problem for the humans is that at this phase, you can think that each of these tips of my fingers, you can think they are separate, but they are not separate. And the forgetting, the uh, the amnesia, the amnesia
amnesia.
of the unity, right, is what
Yeah,
afflicts the humans. And part of it is related to abstract knowledge, to knowledge of things without spirit, right?
yeah.
This is dangerous for us. And of course, there's so much more they showed me, and I don't have time today to I don't want to lecture about it either. But effectively, it is as if there is an angel, so to speak, whose job it is to make cuts, right? And that angel's super important. It's not evil. It's not bad. It's not a bad angel, right? The problem is that when the humans met it, they got its power too early. Before they were wise, they got this power of dividing things and making parts, right? And it corrupted their memory. In this version of the story, there are other interesting versions that are different. In this version, it corrupted their memory. And also, it is very similar in a way,
It corrupted their memory, so they don't remember their origin, eh?
yeah, they don't remember the unity. They remember this, they think about this thing, the tip, right? They see the
They
tip of the finger.
experience only the separation, the
Yes.
separate.
But also it's said
And
that
what did the angel say? What did the angel say here? That there was another angel that divided the species.
yeah, this is what
That
is the serpent. This is what is meant by the serpent. Also, they call that the first angel. They call it the first one for some reason.
first one.
They call it the first one, and it's not bad. They don't see it as evil. In fact, the other angels contain that angel inside them, right? Like each generation of angels in this story. It's a toy. I'm not saying it how it is. I'm not trying to be religious.
Yeah.
The first angel, it escaped heaven. There's a long story about that. And it sort of made the material universe. It is kind of the father of the material universe in a way.
This is the very important difference between Christianity and Greek perspective, let us say, of life. One of the main differences is that Christianity doesn't accept reincarnation. There is no way not to do, not
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do
because
that.
they're gonna, right, because
And
they're
the,
gonna,
and the other is that there is no way that an angel decided to leave heavens just like that and disobey God and think that he will become the God and all these things. This is not acceptable in Greek philosophy. There are no angels that have free will. They
right.
don't. They obey the cosmic law, which is the law of
Yes,
the
yes.
good.
Yeah,
It's not.
it is as if the being who dwells in unity, what we think of as God, right? God doesn't act directly in this story. He doesn't act directly, right?
No, indirectly through them.
He has fingers, and each finger
Yes,
different
exactly.
power.
This is a very nice example that
Yes,
this is the palm, but with the whole hand is the God,
yeah,
and the fingers are the demons and
yeah,
the separate. Yes,
exactly. So,
exactly.
so everything has a place where it was cut in a way from the unity, right? And on our body, that place is the umbilicus, right? We were severed, right, from our
Yes,
mother.
the umbilical cord.
Yeah, which is also kind of like the snake is almost like,
Like a serpent.
yeah,
It's
it's like
like
an umbilicus.
spiral,
Yeah,
spiral.
it's
So
like
it
an
goes,
umbilicus that is alive.
and it's like a serpent inside the womb.
Yes, yes, and also it connects you to death,
Yeah.
right? The serpent connects you to death. If it bites
Yeah.
you, or it is also a medicine. The venoms, these were medicines, right? Long time ago. This is why Asclepius has this
Listen, in
medicine.
Greek, we say pharmaki is the venom, and
Yes, yes,
pharmako is the medicine.
yes, 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 exactly.
Pharmaki and pharmako.
Right. And this is all mostly forgotten. We have like memories in the symbols and things, right? Like the what is the symbol of the doctors in the United States, right? It's a rod
The
with, yeah,
caduceus.
yeah,
The caduceus has two serpents,
yeah, right. Exactly.
of
So
God,
all
their mist.
these things have been forgotten, but they are real. They're not real in terms of you know, like some object is real. They are real in the character of the nature of the relationship between origin and being. The character of this relationship, these things are real in that way. And the humans have forgotten them mostly. There are some people like you and others. This madman who I spoke of briefly in our last discussion, his name is Ammon Hillman. He talks about some of these things. He's
Who?
crazy. His name is Ammon Hillman. I'll send you a link, but he's very He's very dramatic. He studies ancient Greek. He's a classicist. He reads Galen, the old Greek surgeon, right? Thousands of pages this Galen wrote. Hillman knows this stuff. And he talks about the serpents and the pharmacon.
Γέλεν, Γαλινός.
Yeah, yeah.
Ναι, I'm trying
So,
to understand who is Galen. Yes,
yeah,
Galinos is a great ancient Greek doctor.
yeah.
Yes, he's written a
Hillman
lot.
studied Galenos in depth for
Wow.
20 years, right? He's read most of what he wrote. And like I said, I mean, he's covered in Greek tattoos. He has Medea tattooed in Greek. Medea is he adores Medea, right? And he talks about the Medusae and okay, he's a madman. He is mad.
Really, eh?
He is mad.
Medusa.
But he's amazing too, right?
Wow.
Part of how I came to you was by
He's
discovering,
American. He's American.
yes, he's American. And part of how I came to you was by discovering him. Yes.
Oh,
This is part of what
wow.
led me.
And what's the background of his studies? I mean, philosophy or something? Uh,
Classicism, study of
classicism.
languages, right? He has a PhD. He has a PhD in classicism. Here's what happened to him. He wrote about drug use among the Romans for his thesis. Okay. He wrote about drug use among the Romans for medicine and other things. And his thesis advisors said, you have to take all of that out of the thesis. We won't publish your thesis. You can't tell people the Romans were using drugs like this. And he said, why? Why? And they said, because the Romans wouldn't do that. And so he took everything out of the thesis, but he had a big chip on his shoulder about this, right? He's very upset. He had to sort of, castrate his thesis, right? And castrate his thesis to get his PhD. And so he did.
Yeah,
And then he wrote this.
because yes, he uh, compromised.
Yes, but he was very upset about it. And he is a magician. He is a magician. He studies the PGM too, right? The
What is PGM?
Papyrus Graecae Magica, the PGM, the Greek magical papyri.
Ah, papyri, the magical papyri.
Yeah,
Ah, in Egypt.
yeah, but the Greek
Okay,
magical papyri, the Greek.
oh, there are Greek magical papyri. I didn't know. I
Oh,
thought that they were
really?
only really
Oh,
the
yeah, no,
magical
this
papyri.
is central. Many students of ancient Greek, brilliant men, including his mentor, Scarborough, studied and translated the Greek magical papyri. And these have spells. These spells
Wow.
in them.
Yes,
And
yes.
and Hillman practices these rites, right? He's a magician, not like you or
Wow.
me, right? He's a magician.
And he does practice this using the spells. Really?
Oh yeah.
And they are effective. I mean, he comes in contact with demons and all this
Yeah,
stuff.
I'll tell you. So like, can I just tell you a little story briefly?
Yeah.
So I was listening to him, and like I said, he's mad. I mean, he's a madman, but he's also brilliant and he's very entertaining and very charismatic in his peculiar way. So I'm gonna emulate him for a moment. I'm gonna impersonate him. So he was on a podcast, and the host. I'm gonna interview him. I'm trying, I'm gonna get him in an interview sometime soon, I think. Anyway, the host says, you're so amazing. You've read all these texts and you just slip in and out of these different eras of human development so fluidly. I wonder what it would be like to have read everything you've read. And Hillman says, I gotta cheat. Can I tell you? Not supposed to tell this if you're a magician, but I gotta cheat. She's a dead girl from the Bronze Age. And I can talk with her, and she will resurrect the minds of the ancient people right before me so I can interview them. I have a cheat. this dead girl, right? And he's in love.
Tell me something. What is cheat? Yeah, I've got cheat. What?
A cheat is like I have a trick. I have a
A
trick.
trick.
I have a trick I can do to resurrect the minds of the dead ancient right before me, and I can talk to them and I can ask them questions. Last night,
So he can resurrect the minds of the Bronze era of people of the Bronze. Oh my God! And he poses questions and he takes answers.
yeah, but it's much more than that. I mean, it's very theatrical. His way of being is very theatrical and profound, and profane. Uh, but he's fascinating and brilliant. And I've written some about him, and I've had one conversation with him so far, but we didn't record it. And the thing is, after we had a conversation about him, after we had a conversation, I had a dream about him.
When did you first meet him?
I first encountered his work about 6 months ago.
6 months ago?
Yeah, and about 2 months ago, we first had a conversation. I wrote an essay about him, which I knew would get a lot of airplay because he's recently sort of become well known on the internet, in a little part of the internet.
With the podcasts?
Say again?
With the podcasts
Yeah.
that he did.
Yeah, he was interviewed on this guy Danny Jones's podcast, and it made him kind of famous. And one of the things he's saying is that the Septuagint predates any written Hebrew Torah, right? So the Greek predates the Hebrew. This is very controversial, but this is what he is saying. And he has a lot of crazy things to say about Jesus and Christianity. In any case, so I had a conversation with him. And then I knew I was pretty sure this was going to happen. The next day I had a dream in which he showed up, right? And we conversed.
After you met him, you had a dream and he showed up in the dream.
And I was expecting a very powerful, kind of dark, sort of presence. But that is not what happened in the dream. What happened in the dream was very warm and human, and not like his stage persona at all, right? Very human, trustworthy, warm,
It's like you're telling me trustworthy. So the dream shows you that he's not to blame. I mean, he's
yeah.
trustworthy.
Look, he poses as a catalyst of apocalypse. Catalyst. He poses as a catalyst of apocalypse. We are bringing the apocalypse, right?
Catalyst of
Apocalypse.
Acropolis.
Apocalypse. World ending. End of the world. Catalyst.
The
End of the world. Right?
the end of the world. Just a minute. Spell it.
Yeah.
Catalyst. I know catalyst. Of?
Here, I'll write it in the chat.
Ammon Hillman. Apocalypse. Apocalypse. Oh, apocalypse. Yeah.
Now, I'm not trying to sing his praises to you. He's a very unusual and eccentric person. But I have learned some astonishing things from listening to him, right? Even if someone is sort of deranged, and I'm not saying he's deranged either, but even if someone is kind of out of their mind, someone who has insight can still draw out medicine, right, from that, if you see what I'm saying. And this is part of why I'm interested in him. But I see in our conversation, it's so much different. Your history and the spirit of your way in the world is very, by the way, he's very concerned about justice. right? He knows. He knows the secrets. He talks about the mysteries. He has studied them, not to the degree you have or in the way that you have, but he's very aware that that the humans have departed, right, from the way that is just and true.
You said that he claims that the Greek language predates Hebrew, means it's before that. This is predates. This is
Yes.
what you mean.
Yeah. No one
The,
likes that. Everybody's very upset when he says this. All the scholars are furious. They call him demented and insane. There's no evidence of this. Blah 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 blah.
so the scholars claim that the Hebrew is older than the Greek, and the Greek borrowed from Hebrew.
And Hillman says no.
Not because I'm Greek, but this is insane. How come a language full of vowels, originates from a language without vowels? I mean, it's
Right.
anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I could argue either side. I could argue both sides. But what Hillman is specifically saying is that the Septuagint, which is the Greek Bible, right? The Greek version of the Torah. Yeah. He's saying this predates written Hebrew Torah. The Greek predates the written Hebrew Torah. And I've heard this before him, and I was astonished to hear it.
So the Hebrew Torah was written first in Greek. The
Written,
Bible.
yeah,
The Bible,
the Torah,
actually.
the Pentateuch, right? The five
Yeah.
books, Pentateuch.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And they call it the translation of the 70.
Yes.
This is 70 people were.
Yeah. Ptolemy did that.
Are,
He got rabbis together separately and had scribes write it in Greek, is the story, right? Now, look, I didn't mean to drag our conversation towards Ammon Hillman, but I did want to at least introduce the idea into our discussion. And okay. Oh, okay. So I want to ask you, what are the gods?
What?
What are the gods?
The gods.
Yeah.
The gods are the manifestations of the one in different domains. Let us say, for example, Zeus has three names. I explained them to you in the previous. And when he expresses himself, is the God that gives life, the donor of life, actually, because one of the names is Zin, which means live in ancient Greek. So it's the donor of life, Zeus. And when this God, the power of this God is expressed inside me, when he expresses himself in my mind is called Zeus. When he expresses himself in my heart is called Poseidon. So Poseidon, the god of the sea, because the feelings and the sentimental state here, the emotion is like the waves.
Water.
Okay. So when the god expresses himself as sentimental expression of the feelings and emotions is called Poseidon. And when he expresses himself as bodily desires and bodily nature, structure of the body and hormones and all this stuff and the way my body works and how my desire works and all this is called Hades. Hades.
Hades?
Hades. Pluto.
Pluto. Okay.
Pluto is the same god as Hades. but is Zeus in different sides.
Manifestations,
For
yes.
example, I am Maria as a philosopher and a writer. I am Maria as a mother. I am Maria as a grandmother. I am Maria as a teacher or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, of
So it
course.
depends on the way I express myself. The gods were not humans in no way, no way. They are, let's say, manifestations of the mind, of the cosmic mind, of the one
Mm.
manifestations.
And
These are them.
is the cosmic mind the one? Does something contain it? Is there a context that the cosmic mind is in, or no?
No, no.
Okay.
Actually, the idea of space uh, is not prior to the one. You know, when you say that the one is contained in a space, in a something, there must be space before the one. But the one, we call it ariton, which means there is no way to express it.
Yes, yes.
And
It's
there
crucial.
are no words to prescribe, to describe it,
No, it's like it should be obvious to humans that talking about this is kind of silly in one sense, which is the possibility of speech. Before you're speaking, there is the possibility of speech. And before your being, there is that from which being comes. So how are you going to get above that from which being comes and then encompass it with language? How will you do that? Right? You cannot encompass it with language. Right? You can speak because it exists. You cannot
Yeah.
speak it, right? So it is unknowable in the sense of one can not. Yes,
Unnameable, yes.
yes,
I
yes.
like this word, unnameable.
Me too.
Yes,
Me
this
too.
is ariton,
Yeah,
unnameable.
yeah. Okay, so then the angels and the demons and the creatures and the humans, these are created beings. Yes?
Yes, in our tradition, Proclus says this analytically. Proclus is the leader of the Platonic Academy, 450 BC, AD, 800 years after Plato. And he introduced the mysteries inside Christianity. This is my point of view because a Christian writer of his age, I mean, of his during the age that Proclus lived, we call him Michael Pselos. He's a Christian writer, very important, and he names Proclus as the last hierophant. And I don't think, because the Elefsina Mysteries were destroyed in 396 by Alarichus, who came with hordes of monks and burnt uh, the sacred place of Elefsis, the sanctuary,
Mm.
and killed all the clergy, let us say, all this priesthood, we would say, of
Except there
this
must have been not just
time. With
priests,
a massacre, yes,
the
massacre,
women,
yes,
the women.
and women and whoever, yes,
Yes.
all of them. And the last Hierophant had predicted that because he could very easily go to the ethereal field where there is no future, past, and everything is unified there.
Yeah.
And he told his son to take the mysteries and continue them in the academy, the Platonic Academy. because in the mysteries you were able to come in contact to activate the pine
Pineal gland?
the one that is how you say epiphysis, the one
Pine
that is like a pine cone. Yes,
pineal
how you
gland.
say
Pineal.
pineal, yes.
Yes.
The pineal,
Also, when that happens, it makes nectar. Nectar comes down into your mouth. I have tasted this. I know this. I have tasted the nectar that comes into the mouth from the roof of the mouth. It comes down. It is so sweet. It is like the nectar of intelligence, right? I know this
how do you call it? Nectar?
nectar like you get from
Not
flowers.
nectar.
Yeah,
Yes, nectar.
makes nectar come
It
down.
comes down.
Yes,
Wow.
I've had this experience twice. Once
When?
the angel was with me the first time and again the second time. Both times.
Wow.
In the beginning, the nectar would flow, and I didn't associate it with my pineal gland because they didn't teach me about that particularly. But I know now that that is what it's from. It's like
Wow.
it's something that will keep you alive. You don't need food. If you have this, you do not need food. It will nourish, it's nourishing. It's like a soul food, right? It feeds the soul, and then the body is fine. It doesn't need,
Exactly.
yeah, it doesn't need.
Exactly. It's like the so in the heavens in Mount Olympus, they treat each other with nectar and ambrosia.
Yes.
And which means ambrosia means you are not immortal anymore. This is ambrotos. Ambrotos means immortal. So
Mm.
ambrosia is the soul, the food of the soul that makes you immortal.
Yes.
And nectar is actually, yes, the actually nectar is the word is nous. Hector means the holder of the mind power.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
nectar.
Yes.
So you feel that. And what I was telling, yes. So he predicted the end of the last Hierophant, who died at about 90 something years old. And after that, the Alarichus came and killed all the priesthood, as I said. So I'm sure that Proclus, who was taught by the son of this Hierophant, the son of this Hierophant, of the last Hierophant, who was the leader of the academy when Proclus came to Athens to study in the Platonic Academy. He was 22, and for sure he was initiated by him. So he wouldn't allow the mysteries to get lost, you know.
Yes.
So because the Michael Psellos says that he was the last Hierophant, I'm sure he wouldn't allow this to happen. So he thought that some of the philosophers in the Platonic Academy should accept, become Christians, pretend that they want to be Christians,
Ah.
so that they could introduce the mysteries inside Christianity.
Mhm.
And I know Christianity very well because my mother was, how you say, psaltry, when you, in the choir,
In
when
the choir.
you,
Choir.
the
Yeah.
choir,
Hmm.
the choir, yes. And she knew a lot of psalms, you know, this. And we didn't used to go to church very often, but we knew all this. And I was very well aware of what the psalms said. And because I know philosophy now, I can spot what really is a Greek origin, I mean. ancient Greek origin inside this,
Yes.
and the Orthodox Christianity still have the ancient language, the ancient Greek. So
Yes.
this is very important.
In my
So
early Christian, I was a Christian for a time. In my early Christian experience, I was exposed to the Orthodox
yeah,
monks at the monastery, right? So I have some connection and knowledge with this. It seems obvious, something kind of blatant. The Christians say like, and I'm not trying to cast shade on anyone's religion or even on Christianity, but the Christians say something like, accept Jesus, you'll be resurrected after you die, which seems to be that they have cribbed the core of the mysteries, which is to experience death while you were alive and to be resurrected in this body, resurrected in the knowledge of death and what birth is for, and to be freed of the desires while you're still a human being, and so then to be freed of the cycle of birth and death.
yeah.
Now,
Also, we celebrate on the 6th of August the metamorphosis of Christ. And the metamorphosis is that he literally becomes light before the eyes of the disciples. So they are astonished with
yeah.
this, the metamorphosis. And this means this actually happens when you are in the last cycle of incarnation. You transform into light because you remain just mind and not body. You come, it's the separation of the soul, of the mind from the soul. We have the separation of the soul from the body is called death. The separation of the mind from the soul is called second death. And this is the metamorphosis into light. And when you become a photon, because the amazing thing in chemistry is that the photon comes from an electron. It's a hyperreactive state of the electron. So when the electron is when a neutron, which is a small particle, subatomic particle, let us say, strikes the electron in an orbit that it is, then the electron goes towards the
Nucleus.
Nucleus, yes, then the nucleus.
It gives off a photon.
And because it doesn't feel well there, it cannot exist there because around the nucleus there is only a certain and specific number of the electrons that can exist at this state. So when an electron of the external orbit comes because of the strike, takes kinetic energy and comes down there, it's like having a spring crushed and then release it. So this dynamic energy there is transformed again into kinetic energy, and the electron comes back because it cannot stay there for a long time. And as it comes back to its original state, then it releases a photon.
I see.
And this is how a photon is created, with the super charged, the super activated energy state of the electron. So when I'm a super activated human mind by the logos of a divine being that comes to me like you experience, that I experienced and all this stuff, then when I come back to my original state, I'm not the same.
Yeah.
I emit photons. I radiate. You see it, you said
Yeah.
before. So this is my metamorphosis actually, because I cannot think the way I used to
Yeah, no,
before
no, no,
experience. No
no.
way.
I
Do you
mean,
agree with
I
from
agree.
the?
I'm still okay. It's weird though, because in my experience, which I think I've done something wrong, I made a mistake or something, but I have this experience like being reconceived and then like being reborn. But then I undergo the same amnesia over time. I become a human again. It takes a lot of time. It takes like 6 years or 7 years, but I start to become a regular human again because the light that was shining in my mind is so far away in the past now, right? So it's like I start to become amnesiac again. Some. I cannot think the way I used to think. That is true. But it is as if something we undergo in childhood, we lose something of the origin of our relationship with origin and perhaps our guardian spirit, if you will, or the angel, or however you want to speak of it. We lose it and we become very mundane, right? And so we lose our imagination. We stop playing, right? And
Yeah.
when the angel is with me, my imagination is it's like a jungle of brilliant lights, right? And then the angel goes away and it becomes dark. And I start to think like a regular human again. So
Yeah.
it's troubling to
Now,
me.
Darren, I want you to remind me in short your experience with this spirit and what actually you gain and you start, how did this change you? But in short,
Sure.
without details, it happened 2002 when you
Yeah,
were 39. And
I was
suddenly
39.
you started, from what I remember, you started writing things that came to you, and then you lost this passage, this word, because you had a crash on your computer, if I
Yeah,
remember well.
that was in the late 90s. That happened in the late 90s, the crash. And then in 2002, writing again, then the angel shows up, then 9 months of learning, then it departs.
It was about 3 years before it returned. He returned.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
from
then
the and you don't remember anything from the first contact.
all I remember from the first thing that happened in the 90s was being like something took over my mind and was just writing through me. Right, just writing.
Yes, but you don't remember what you wrote. Oh my
No,
gosh.
I remember that it was basically about the same question, right? Like what happened to the humans? How is there medicine for the humans? Right? Can we somehow repair them? Because there must be a way to repair them. That's what the concern was that
Mhm.
led me that
So this concerns the answer, all whatever you felt like inspiration and you started writing. It was like the answer to this question.
yeah,
And how long were you in front of the computer typing this?
about 2 hours,
Wow.
150 pages,
And
right?
150 pages?
Yeah.
You wrote 150 pages in two
In one
hours.
sitting, yeah, just writing. Yeah.
Very efficient.
Well, I was being done, something was doing it for me, right? I was halfway through maybe a quarter of a book, right? Halfway through the first quarter of a book that would be very long. And I envisioned the whole thing. I had the whole vision in my mind, and it was just,
You visioned the whole thing and you started describing this what you visioned.
yeah, yeah.
It was, let me ask you something. It was like an inner voice that guided your mind about what to write? No, you
No,
just
it was
thought
just
of that, like thoughts.
it was a catastrophic inspiration that was structured. I could see the whole arc of the book, and I just started writing, and I got about, I don't know, an eighth of the way through the entire vision, and then I paused and I saved it, and my machine crashed and I lost it.
So a small, even if you could keep it, it was about 20% of what you visioned that you had written. Eh?
yeah,
This is
yeah,
what you said.
maybe 15%, but yeah, yeah.
15%.
Also, obviously, like I thought that was a great tragedy as a writer, you know, I'm like, oh no, 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 how I can't get it back. It's gone. I thought it was terrible. But obviously it wasn't terrible because it led to it came back in a different way and then stayed with me. I mean, to be honest, 5 minutes of contact with that intelligence, I learned more than in my entire life. Like it was impossibly, unimaginably intelligent. And just to taste it for even a moment, it is worth being born and dying. I mean, it was ecstatic fulfillment of everything I had everything I
Wow.
was incapable of imagining, right? Just absolute. I felt like, oh, this is what we are supposed to be experiencing as humans. This is what we have lost. This is why we are blind. This is everything. I wish if I could make some kind of an analogy. Let me see. Okay. Imagine that a bird has been chained to a rock and it's never seen flight. And all the birds are chained to rocks, and that's how birds are. And then something comes and it takes the chains off and it teaches the bird about flying and the wind and the sun and the atmosphere and how to relate with them. This is how it was for the first time. I was like a creature, imagine like a fish that has never been in water, right? This is how
Yeah.
it felt, right?
It's like the cave of the Platonic cave, eh?
Yes, yes.
When you are used to the darkness, you cannot have an idea about the
No,
light, and you
it's
cannot
impossible.
stand the light. You
Yeah,
cannot
yeah.
stand it.
Not only that, people write stories about the light, but the stories don't help you, right? They can tell you all kinds of things, and it doesn't help you. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, look, it was a mythic experience. It was the experience of being a mythic being, and I am still quite confused about what happened. I don't understand it. I cannot encompass it with my intellect, and very frankly, don't feel particularly special. I don't think like, oh, Darren's something really important because he had this experience. That's not how I feel at all. I rarely speak of the experience. Mostly what I do is I write about what I learned, what I was able to see and understand from the experience, not so much about the experience. I don't think I'm interesting. What I was shown is interesting.
Yeah. But did you have the feeling that he was your guardian spirit?
Yeah, much. It went, okay, so it went through phases. It was like climbing a staircase. And in the beginning, I thought, oh, this is the genius that has always been in me. This is like my guardian angel. This is my genius, right? But then it was clear that there was something else that was not me. And then it was clear there was a group of other intelligences. And then it was clear it was a vast collective of other intelligences. And then it was as if a little angel started to prepare me for the next thing that would happen. And then like thunder of intelligence, barely survivable, like an angel came and I could barely survive contact with it. And that was with me for the rest of the of
It's
these.
like sending you other other divine species lower than him to prepare you, let us say, to prepare your intellect to receive this powerful light later. This is what
Yes,
you said.
also it had to change my it had to do something with my memory and my intelligence to allow them to interact and survive the exposure, because in their ordinary state, they cannot survive the exposure to this. It had to restructure them slowly, like you would teach a child to walk,
Yeah.
similar to teaching a small child to walk, right?
It's like grabbing you out of the darkness of the cave and leading you slowly. And when Plato says you come out of this cave, there must be not very strong light. You must be under the moonlight to
Yeah.
see a good moonlight so that you can see around, but not under the direct light of the sun because you could be blind.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like they shaded the actual intelligence is like a nuclear explosion or impossible to understand. Not even more, I'm so much more than that, like more than the sun. Impossible. And so they would just let a little bit light through the cracks so that I could survive exposure. And then I would adjust and then a little
Exactly.
and then a
And
little
then
more
opening the cracks.
like that.
Yeah.
And this is what I remember.
Oh, so did he give you the answers you were looking for?
Yes, I remember many of them, but there are vast, vast things I cannot recall. I wrote a lot. I wrote all day, every day I was writing during
Ah,
these.
you did? So you have somewhere all the things that you could remember written? Do you
A
have
lot
them?
of them, a lot of them. I mean, the writing is different from what he showed me, but there are certain things that I wanted very carefully to preserve stories about the problems with the humans in the beginning and so forth. Um, so I have a lot of things. I have not sorted through that, but yeah, I've got probably a couple thousand pages of material or something.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, amazing. Did they satisfy you? I mean, uh, did you find them meaningful in terms of understanding your existence as a human being?
Yes, but except the thing is, I was kind of on a mission for the people, right? I wasn't trying to help Darren. I was trying, I'd be willing to give up Darren if I could help the people, right? So kind of the answer to your question is no, right? Like I've seen, I didn't ask them a lot about death, but I asked
Mhm,
them a lot about origin.
mhm.
And I still fear death, right? I still fear death.
You do?
Yeah, I do still fear death. And I am not balanced in the way you describe, right? I'm
Yeah.
not yet balanced.
Um, well, being incarnated is synonym to unbalanced.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we were balanced, we wouldn't need incarnation.
Right.
You understand?
Okay, so here's a question. Do some people who have escaped, do some people who have completed the cycle of incarnations, do some of them return anyway?
Yes, they return. This is what Odyssey is about. Because although Odysseus goes through this terrible, uh, not trip, experience from the Troy to back to Ithaca, passing all through all these tortures, let's say, and all these experiences from Cyclops to whoever, Kirky, and so many things that he had to survive. Reaching the Phaeacians, how you call them? Phaeaces, before going to Ithaca. It's Phaeacians. Aecean.
Patience.
These are the when he meets he had a ship. He was as a shipwreck, and he was coming from a shipwreck, and he was naked, and he came onto this island, and the daughter of the king Nafsika found him while she was playing ball with her servants. Do you know this story? And they were the king and the queen and their sons and the daughter, and she was very playful, and she found him, and then she guided him to the palace, and he participated uh, to a game with the other Ephesians. So actually the code is that these Ephesians are the archangels,
Uh,
are, this is the analogy.
mhm.
So they are the top rank of the demons.
Hmm.
These are the Ephesians. And Odysseus, who is the human who is to be deified and divinized, let us say, reaches that state, and he asks he asks them to help him come back to Ithaca. And Ithaca, it has almost the same etymological root with ethiki, that are ethics.
Uh-huh.
You see, Ithaca. And it is our world where we are incarnated. Ithaca is our world, where we should manifest our morality, our virtuous
Yeah.
state, our morality.
I mean, there
And
is.
ethos is the morality, as I told you before, ethos and ethos.
Mhm.
So he asks to come back to help others, because this human being that is divinized, he is divinized because of the need to offer
Yes, yes, yes.
and express love.
Yes, yes.
And after that, he cannot stay there. He wants to come back to the cave to tell the others, there is light out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whatever you see here is the matrix. The matrix is the matrix. Is not the real thing. Come out there, because I have been there and I see the real thing. But they don't believe him. Although some, even one, could break the chains and come up and follow him, you know.
Yes.
And you know how Homer shows this in the Cyclops cave.
Mm.
When Odysseus was inside the cave, he could not come out by himself, because the Cyclops, although he was blind, he could grab him, but he tied himself under a, a male sheep, a
Mhm.
male sheep, yes. How you call this male sheep?
Uh, I can't remember.
Krios, Aries.
Yeah, yeah,
It's the time.
yeah, yeah. Man,
Ram,
a ram,
Ram.
a ram.
Yeah, I remember Ram. Okay, a ram. All right. So he tied himself under a ram, and this guided him out to the cave, without the Cyclope being able to spot him, because he touched the ram.
Hmm.
This means that you cannot come out of this cave without somebody to carry you out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which also means someone must play the role of the carrier. Someone has to become that
Carry
role.
you.
Yeah.
Yes. Because otherwise, if you didn't have this experience, you couldn't believe that there is light somewhere else. That
I mean, not only that,
what,
it won't help you to believe things. The
yeah.
believing things, I mean, it's a little bit useful. I don't want to throw it away, but it's not the same as, like, imagine someone describes to you the problem with the humans is like they eat rocks all the time. And someone comes to them and goes, you know, there's these things called peaches. You should try this peach thing. Usually, what's going to happen is the humans will kill that person because they have religions about eating rocks. They've been eating rocks for hundreds of years. Their grandparents were eating rocks. All their religions are based on eating rocks, right? So if you come to them and you say, like, there's a peach, they're going to kill you, or it's not going to go well. You have to go to either a special person and say, here, taste the peach, right? Don't believe. I'm not trying to get you to believe anything. Just taste this. Or sometimes you can go to the youth, right? Because the youth already realizes something wrong with everybody eating these rocks all the time. And you give them a peach and you tell them, like, don't tell the adults. Keep it a secret, right? But here, taste the peach. Do you, so there's, I know that it's time for you to rest. But I have many more questions, and I hope we can perhaps convene again sometime soon when you have
Maybe
time.
another time, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But
Um,
one last
the
question.
point is that you are really transformed when you come in touch with this power. You realize your goal of life. This is what happens to me with Archangel Michael in my house. I was 55 then when this happened to me. After I wrote my first book in philosophy, it was a very unexpected experience, very, uh, it was like making me not being able to breathe, crying all the time. So it was, I was crying when he was talking inside my mind, not without, it was like thought. And he explained to me the name of my guardian spirit that I had discovered. I had asked him in how you say, the word I tried to find the other day, when you close your eyes and you stay still and you
Meditate?
meditation, yeah, meditation. When I had a meditation and I asked him about his name, and he gave me a name, and some years later I had this experience, and he explained to me that the etymology of this name is like the etymology of Archangel Michael.
Mm.
And he gave me the etymology, and then he started telling me why he was my guardian spirit and why I was under Archangel Michael, because all the souls are under a certain archangel,
Mm.
and
Mm.
I am under the series line, how you say, of the guardian spirits that are under Archangel Michael.
The lineage.
Yes, the lineage,
Mm.
exactly. Anyway, and whenever I am in touch, I'm in contact with this power, I feel like there is a divine source that flows through me and is expressed with my writings.
Yes.
And it is a compelling feeling, how you say, a compelling feeling that
Very.
I cannot do any way else, somehow else, but I also enjoy it. It's not that I'm, I'm afraid that something would happen to me if I don't do it. Nothing forces me to do that. It's
No,
a
it's
me.
it is the same. It is the same for me. When I'm writing from the spirit of insight, it is not as good as when the angel was with me, but it is like, oh, this is what I was made to be doing. I'm fulfilling
Yeah.
something I need.
Yes, and your inner call, your inner need to spread this
Yeah,
to people.
yeah.
I mean, what I realize and I find out, and I said, okay, I understand this and understand the other, and so many answers I have during all these years that I write my books. I have to share. It's not only for me.
Yeah.
The 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 spirit says you should do that now. I mean, you should devote all. There is no free time. What is free time for you? Because
Right, right.
you have to write so many things that I give you, and I'm so grateful that I understand to such an extent. And the only thing that I'm angry with me, I don't know. I know so many words, and sometimes I feel that my English is so poor compared to what I know. I mean, when you speak, I fully understand. I say, okay, how come I don't remember the word? Let us say meditation, for goodness sake.
Mm.
But I think it's a matter of practice, when. It's a matter of practice. If you study ancient Greek all day and you write ancient Greek, your mind is tired.
Uh,
Anyway,
I suffer from this too because my vocabulary was pretty astonishing, but it started to degrade about 6 years ago. And it used to
yeah,
be like I had, a Ferrari, and now I have like, a Volkswagen or something. It's still good, but it's not as good as
yeah,
it used to be. And you do have to practice, but also with age, things change, you know.
yeah.
It's hard. It bothers me too.
And because another goal, a very important goal, and this was revealed to me in 2015 when I had this experience, that now that you write about the language of the gods, you have to spread it all over the world.
Yes.
This was told to me. I said, okay, how can I do that? And that's why I abandoned my career in order to be an English teacher, but I used to be much better. My English, well, I fully understand, of course, but it's time, because over the last 9 years, every day I write and I read philosophy and Greek and all this stuff, and all this. It's like fading the other language, because if it's not, even if it is your mother tongue, you realize that you are not that fluent if you live if you leave something unpracticed. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I understand. It is frustrating, isn't it? I
Yeah,
agree.
it is. It is. But okay. Not too bad. I mean, at least I can communicate freely. I can understand. But the point is, I cannot convey to so exactly what I want to
Yes,
say.
yes, yes. This bothers me too. When even in the years after, right after when I had my experience, I could form analogies and metaphors and parables, like, you know, like Like
Yes, you are
nothing.
great in the analogies, like the glove that you said before.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
But then now, like compared to back then it was like I was a master of metaphor, and now I'm like, trying to make a little simple metaphor,
it. Yeah,
struggling
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
find
yeah,
one. So the thing though, I'm grateful to have had the experience and also to just still be lucid, right? To not have been driven mad, right? To still be
yeah.
alive and
Yeah,
have
yeah,
some,
because you could have been driven mad. Yes, nobody could believe you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and even you, but because this is a shocking experience for the body.
Yeah, it would drive my heart, would feel like it was going to rip itself out of my chest.
Exactly, it was like exactly
And
this
I was like,
was
what's going on?
what
One of
happened
the
to me.
things was people say like, well, why don't you call the angel and bring it back? And I'm like, my heart would not, I'm too old, right? My heart would not survive if the angel was here.
Yeah.
It, well, along with the enthusiasm, the heart just goes
Yes,
like,
was beating that fast.
yeah.
Yes.
I think some poet, it might have been Rumi or Rilke, they said something like, you should be grateful that you don't meet an angel, because if you did, your heart would tear itself out of your chest and beat itself to death on the ground,
Wow. Wow.
right? Something like
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. Because imagine it's like the sun approaching the earth.
Yeah. Except the star of relation and intellect and origin, right? All the three of these things at once, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's serious, but uh, there is a light that lights our interior. There is a sun that lights our interiority, and it is alive. I think Sting, the singer for the Police, right? They had this song, There Has to Be an Invisible Sun, right? That makes, I can't actually remember the lyrics, like makes the soul of everyone, or awakens us inside.
Yeah. And that's why they call Dionysus the son of the midnight.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.